Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. Today we're going to talk about some baits that nobody will tell you they're using. And generally speaking, it's because they're too embarrassed to say that they're using these baits. But I'm going to sit here and tell you right now, every one of these baits that I'm going to show you today are A, like amazing fish catchers, and B, I'm going to try to make a video this upcoming season using every one of these just to show you that they still do very much catch fish. It's actually kind of frustrating to me how these baits have just been pushed to the wayside. And I realize that they've been around for a long time, but the reality is they are all extremely proven fish catchers. So that's what we're going to do today. I want to just walk you through some baits that I don't think you should be embarrassed to be caught using. They work extremely well. And myself, I have grown up fishing a lot of these baits. So the first one we're going to talk about here is kind of one of the old granddads, in my opinion. This is a Johnson Silver Minnow spoon, and pair it up with an old Uncle Josh pork frog. And usually the frog color is kind of what I personally have a lot of attachment to. This was like one of the key baits for me growing up as a child. Any place we went that had the lily pads, I would throw a Johnson Silver Minnow, put a frog on the back, and I would fish this around and absolutely hammer the fish. I think everyone knows how good a spoon is for like pike and other game fish, but it's a great bait as well for bass, especially when you tip it with a pork frog. I've actually done videos talking about how, in my opinion, a pork frog is one of the best trailers that you can use on a lot of different baits, whether it's a spinner bait, chatterbait, swim jig. It's got a lot of purposes. It is not just a jig trailer by any means. Maybe I'll do a video on it again talking about that. But this bait is sentimental to me, but an absolute fish catcher. In my opinion, it's kind of like the original frog in a way. Like that was one of the key baits to fish over the top lily pads before the hollow belly frogs ever came along. Caught a ton of fish on that. I've intended to do a video on that the last couple of years. It's been an idea of mine. I just haven't gotten around to it, but I'm definitely going to do it this upcoming season. So that's one bait. Another bait is a jitterbug, guys. A jitterbug, the old school jitterbug. This is a pretty old one. I just plucked this off the wall for the video purposes. I personally like the black ones. I like the ones that are not the jointed models, but they all seem to work. They are still great fish catchers today. There's actually a lot of baits that have come out in the last couple of years that are somewhat resemblant of a jitterbug. But the jitterbug provides an amazing action, an amazing sound, and the fish, for like, at this point, we're probably pushing 100 years, have been eating them. But it is one of those baits that tends to become kind of a joke. Like, you ask your buddy what you caught him on, he goes, I caught him on a jitterbug, and it's kind of a joke at that point. But it is an amazing bait. Next up, this is another one that gets a lot of like joking attention, but this is the Big Bud bait. So this Heddon put out the Big Bud. Some of them are shaped and look like a beer can. They have like the Budweiser beer can on it. But this bait is an amazing bait for generating good big strikes. It's kind of, in my opinion, one of the original kind of like wake bait style baits. If you're familiar in the musky world, they make flap tails. Flap tails are big baits, and they've got a blade on the back, and the blade thumps around off the back. They're amazing musky topwater baits. In the bass world, it's pretty much non-existent, but the Big Bud is one that kind of came out and kind of used that flap tail type idea. But these baits, moving through the water, move way more water than anything else. They thump back and forth with that blade clacking off of it. And I assure you, this bait generates really big strikes for all three species of bass. Man, this is something that I kind of always thought was a joke, and then I had some people kind of tell me about the fact that it's not a joke, and I can assure you it is not a joke. That bait catches fish, and it catches big fish. Next up, this is another one that I think we all know catches a lot of fish, but you don't hear anyone really talk about it anymore. And that's just your old Rapala minnow. It comes in so many different sizes. You can get them real small, you can get them real big in the husky size, you can get them jointed, you can get all different types of them. They're just a balsa minnow that floats. They dive like a foot and a half. But these things are amazing fish catchers. You can work them like a jerkbait, you can straight retrieve them, you can twitch them on the surface. They generate a lot of bites. Again, this is one of those baits. I grew up fishing. If you live in the upper Midwest, we're kind of in that Rapala area, with Normark being based up, I think, out of Minneapolis or Minnesota somewhere. But the point being, just an amazing fish catcher that does not get nearly the credit that it deserves, in my opinion. I know in the walleye world, a lot of guys are still trolling with them and doing things like that, but they seem to kind of have been pushed a little bit to the wayside. The last bait I'm going to talk about is another amazing fish catcher. I've got a whole box attributed to it. They are pre-rigged worms. There's a lot of different ones out there. I like the icons. I like the little Action Max. Lots of good ones. This box smells amazing as I opened it up. It smells like grape and old man's worms because they do have some scent in them. See, this one says built-in raspberry scent in it. But these pre-rigged worms, so a pre-rigged worm, meaning you've got a line that goes up through it. You've got 3 hooks mounted in it. You attach that strung line to a swivel, cast it out, and your worm spirals through the water. They are amazing fish catching tools. They're some of my favorites to give to younger anglers, just because they've got 3 hooks that are exposed. You end up catching like a lot of panfish mixed in. They generate a ton of bites. One of my absolute favorite colors is the brown with the orange tail. I have won some big bass awards on that exact bait, actually, when I was a lot younger. But they're amazing baits. They really are really good. They're kind of hard to find at times too. If you get outside of the upper Midwest, I do feel like they become a little bit harder to find. But I've got boxes of these things, and they are really good fish catchers. And I think a lot of people look at them and they think that they're just for the beginner angler, but they're really not. They generate a lot of strikes. You want to get them a little deeper, attach a couple of split shots to it just to get them a little bit deeper. You can fish them on deep weed lines, things like that, and they catch fish. But these are a bunch of baits right here that nobody is telling you they're catching fish on, even though some of people out there are still using it, but it's almost like you're embarrassed to talk about it. But I'm going to bring these back. I'm going to do a video on each one of these, show you how to fish it, show you that they still catch fish. I'm excited to do it. It gets me jacked up just to go do it. I wish I could do it now, except we're froze over. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. If there's other baits that you could put in this category, let me know. The hula popper is one of them, and I have done videos catching big smallmouth on hula poppers. So that one I didn't mention, but that is another one. But if you've got some other baits that you feel like people don't want to admit that they're using, let me know in the comments section. Maybe I'll do a video on those as well. Otherwise, if you enjoyed today's video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Stay tuned, new video coming out tomorrow.